Professor Noam Chomsky was quick to warn you when you um, went down this line of pointing out absurdities that it was going to harshly impact on your career, and he has been proven correct. I think perhaps yourself and Noam Chomsky are possibly the two academics who've put most at risk in the search of justice, but maybe Noam was lucky that he had his field of linguistics, which was separate to his politics, that he was able to fall back on, but you had no such luck. Could you tell us a bit about your travails through academia so far?
Well, first of all, I know Professor Chomsky quite well. I'm sure he would be the first to say he didn't put anything at risk in his career because Professor Chomsky is a certifiable genius. It's a fact, and a person like him comes along once in several lifetimes, not just once. Well, you could say he's the natural successor. He was the natural successor in the second half of the 20th century to Bertrand Russell in the first half of the 20th century. So you could say he comes one or two in a century. Certainly, as we're now into the second decade of the 21st century, there is nobody who even remotely fits his shoes. So he's a certifiable genius, and the nature of our system, our academic system, is it simply makes exceptions for geniuses. And Professor Chomsky, no university would care less what he says about politics or anything else. If you can get him on the faculty, you take him. By the way, you would be surprised to learn, I think, that was not true of Bertrand Russell. Russell had a lot of trouble finding work, a lot of trouble finding work, and most of the time he had to do kinds of work which were not, let's just say, befitting his attainments, his scholarly attainments. But Chomsky, no university in its right mind would turn him down, even if whatever he said politically. So where he made the huge sacrifice was in terms of time, the economies of time. The more time he invested in politics, the lesser time he was able to invest in his professional pursuits, which were and remain very important to him. But I belong to an altogether different category. I'm a person of, and I don't say this with any attempt at false modesty. I'm a person of modest abilities and attainments. I happen to be conscientious, but that gets me in the famous Thomas Edison category. That gets me the 99% of perspiration, but I never had the 1% of inspiration. And so I was expendable. No university is going to take me on because there are many people of comparable competence behind me on the line, and they'll just take somebody else. And so, since taking me on board would mean exposing yourself to all sorts of unpleasant things, all sorts of backroom lobbying, threats to cut off alumni contributions, and all sorts of blacklisting, universities decide I just wasn't worth the trouble because I just wasn't of a caliber academically or intellectually that would make me worth the trouble. Chomsky is worth the trouble. And every university in the United States and the world, for that matter, knows that on balance, I wasn't worth the trouble because there was always a long line of candidates of comparable, if not greater competence than me, behind me. And so I lost.